Michigan Out of Doors Magazine's OD is brought to you by Michigan United Conservation Clubs, protecting Michigan's rights to hunt, fish, and trap for 75 years. And by Williams Gun Sight. Located in Davison, Williams Gun Sight has Mid-Michigan's largest selection of used guns with over 2,000 in stock every day. Check out the website to view inventory and prices. And by MSU Federal Credit Union, helping members achieve their dreams since 1937.
As you can see by the way my opener is going so far, we don't seem to have any problems with EHD in this area, but there are some areas west of us where there are some reported cases, and they are seeing some dead deer, and especially once you get over towards Ionia and down through Hillsdale or so. So we're going to take a look at an interview I did with Steve Chadwick from the DNR, and we'll give you some of the updated numbers for EHD as of today, the bow opener.
Well, the disease is a virus caused by the bite of a midge or black fly. It can infect deer, cervids, most commonly, and whitetail mule deer seem to be the most susceptible to it. It is one of the hemorrhagic diseases, so it is kind of associated with blue tongue, but it's not the same disease. One important factor about the disease is that although it seems like every deer is just dropping dead, that's not really the case. Not every deer gets infected, and not every deer that gets infected dies from the disease. So the deer at that time will tend to go towards water to cool off, to get a drink, and usually when the symptoms start to show up, the deer is dead within just a few hours. And so that's why folks are finding them in water, because that's where they die. We know that this disease will actually die out when we get the first frost. When the midges die, the disease goes away. It does not persist in the deer herd the way tuberculosis persists. So once that freeze hits your area, be on the lookout for a couple weeks, because it takes about 2 weeks for the disease to work itself out, and then we're in the free and clear for the year. As far as the future, we don't know. We have seen this disease periodically since about 2006, more steady, I should say. What happens next year is anyone's guess. This year we've seen a bigger outbreak simply because we had a milder winter, we had a warm spring, and we had a hot and dry summer, and those three things created a situation where the midge was able to survive and proliferate, and we ended up with this kind of outbreak. If we have a normal winter, we may not see it again next year. Well, so far, as of earlier in the week, the count has gone over 6,000 reported to the DNR, and so that can be really a minimum count for the mortality. It's in 24 counties that we've been able to confirm. And we've done a lot more effort this year than we have in the past to try to track where the disease is and just how extensive it is. The two highest concentration areas seem to be northeast Ionia County and kind of into the surrounding counties a little bit, and then right along the Branch and Calhoun County lines. Those were the two areas where we started with our reports in July and have continued on. When you look at the map, there's a map online that you can look at, and you'll see that those two areas are the most heavily hit this year. One thing that we hear a lot about is what are we going to do for deer hunting this year? And why aren't we reducing quotas, and why aren't we closing seasons, and why aren't we reacting to this outbreak? And the simple answer really is that a lot of the regulations had gone in and were going through prior to the outbreak. And really, again, having dealt with it for a couple of years, it's hard to know what really goes on when you don't see the full picture of the hunting season. So for example, this past weekend with the youth and early antlerless, we had deer checked in here, and I asked hunters, were you seeing deer? How did things go? And I was checking on some of the forums, and folks were seeing deer, they were harvesting deer, and in a lot of cases they were seeing and harvesting deer in some of these heavily hit EHD zones. So the nature of the disease is such that it's a very localized event, and 4 miles down the road you may not see any effect of the disease. So to say that we're going to close the season or do a regional regulatory change because of this would impact a lot more of the herd in a negative way than allowing the hunting season to continue. Often we're asked what's next in terms of regulations and deer management. And really we are seeing a trend in some of our indicators that suggests that the deer herd in southern Michigan in particular is stabilizing, and in some areas maybe declining. And so it's a bigger issue even than EHD. EHD is just another factor that goes into all of our deer management decisions. We are actually going to start looking at, I don't want to say changes, but just what do we need to do to tweak and maybe realign our deer management in southern Michigan, and well, statewide really, over the next year or so. And so those discussions are just in the infancy, and how we roll that out to hunters is unclear at this point. More information will be on our website as we start to figure out where to go from here.